for spending a few minutes with me in this first of what will be 5 or perhaps 6 very short talks. By way of laying the groundwork for this one, I'd like to identify the thread that is running through virtually all of my thinking these days and all of my writing, and I've given a name to it. I call it the restoration of the Earth community. The question that arises is simple. Why aren't we doing it? We have all the science we need. We have the technology. We certainly have a compelling moral imperative. So, what's missing? What's missing is that we do not know our proper place in this interconnected, interdependent, internetworked, very intricate ecosystem, planetary ecosystem. 100 years ago, John Muir called it the web of all life. All of us who are talking in those terms today are standing on his very broad shoulders, and of course he was standing on the broad shoulders of those who'd come before him. Web of life, what he's talking about is the interconnectedness of all life forms, including humans. That's what's missing. Our understanding of our place within that ecosystem. We are lost. Now, I can identify a culprit. There are probably several culprits, but the one that I'm most familiar with, that I can talk about most readily, is the biblical story of creation. Now, this is the 6-day version. Humans arrived on day 6 and were lifted by God to the top of the food chain. And then God, He, of course, gave humans, awarded humans, dominion and rule over the rest of what had been created. In this story, God then gave humans marching orders. The first one was to populate the earth. Well, we've done that. We are still doing that. And then God said, subdue the earth. Subdue the earth and all its creatures. Subdue the waters and all its creatures. Subdue the creatures of the air. So what humans were given, dominion and rule, the orders to populate the earth and the orders to subdue it. Now, there are other creation myths, many other creation myths that are far gentler in terms of earth to human or human to non-human relationships. This one, however, at least in the Western cultures, has carried formative power to shape the way humans see ourselves and the earth community, ourselves as separate from the earth community, has shaped our view of ourselves as no other story really has. Now, it doesn't matter whether we understand this story as literal. Many people do. It doesn't matter if we understand it as metaphor or myth. It doesn't matter if we don't pay attention to it at all. The shaping, formative power of it is evident in the way that we understand our relationship to the earth community. We're lost. That's the word. We are lost. We've lost ourselves spiritually. We've lost ourselves morally. We've lost ourselves politically, educationally. Ironically, we've lost ourselves religiously. The word I want to toss in here is the word anthropocentric. What it means is that humans believe and behave as though we are the center of the universe. This world revolves around us. This world exists for us to use in any and every way we see fit. What just pops into my head is the removal of whole mountaintops in West Virginia. West Virginia, ironically, the mountain state. What pops into my head is the increasing acidity of our oceans, which has put at risk coral reefs essential to the health and well-being of all life forms, including ourselves. Anthropocentric. The world exists in service to humans. That's actually the kindest way to say it. From what we've been seeing, however, the more accurate expression is that the world exists for exploitation by humans. Some of us believe we can still turn around this devastation. But all the environmental agencies and ecology groups in the world are not likely to turn this around. I bet I get 40 emails a day from organizations I support. Defenders of Wildlife, Natural Resources Defense Council, the Audubon Society, Oceana, the Sierra Club. I contribute to them all. I sign petition after petition to save the wolves, save the elephants, save the gorillas, save the lions, save the birds, save the tigers, save the sea otters, save the forests, save the oceans. But through my misplaced longing rings the voice of Aldo Leopold, perhaps the strongest ecological voice of the 1940s. We abuse land because we see it as a commodity belonging to us, he said. When we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to know it with love and respect. This is the beginning of a new ethic. We still believe that we can right our ecological wrongs from an anthropocentric or human-centered perspective. We can't. It's not possible. And the reason is simple. We don't think in terms of ecosystems. We think in terms of lifestyles. Even when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about lifestyles. Environmental good works, environmental stewardship, however we want to name that, when initiated from a human-centered or anthropocentric mindset, always, virtually always, yields to human self-interest. Yields to the whimsy of politics, for example. This is true of the EPA. This is true of environmental law. Humans give it, humans take it away. For example, do trees have legal standing? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on who's in charge and what they want. This is precisely why a shift from human-centered to eco-centered is essential. And make no mistake, it is a sea change we're talking about. This world is a living web, interconnected, interdependent, each part with its own role and purpose, each part essential to the health and well-being of the whole. And here's the part that humans have such difficulty absorbing, each part of no greater or no lesser value than any other part. What this means is that our great institutions, our economic institutions, our corporate structures, our political institutions, our educational institutions, even our religious institutions, have to shift perspective as well and do business from within this living ecosystem, not external to it, doing things to it all the time, but from within. It's the same with our ethics. Our ethics have to emerge from within the living web. Aldo Leopold, now he and I shared exactly 1 year of life together on this planet. I consider that my great good fortune. Aldo Leopold makes this very simple. He says, a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity and the stability and the beauty of the biotic community. A thing is wrong when it tends otherwise. How simple is that? We have to find our proper place within this ecosystem. I said earlier that we're lost, that we've lost ourselves. Well, we have to find ourselves. Shamanic practices talk about soul retrieval. In a sense, humans relocating ourselves properly within the living ecosystem is like that. And the question, of course, is how do we do it? How do we start? How do we even think about it? And the way that I respond to that is the first piece is always experiential. It is the experiential, not the cerebral, not the intellectual, but it's the experiential that begins to change the collective human heart. What I am offering in this series of 5 short talks is a process of hope and action in partnership, to begin to do the work of the transformation of the human heart. I'll give you a clue. It's all about the stuff of the right brain. Thank you again for spending this time with me.
For further exploration of these critically important principles and practices, Caroline's book is available through www.hamilton-books.com, Amazon, and her website, restoringthewaters.com.